everyone, and hi to all of our listeners. Welcome to the 0100 podcast. I am your host, Lauren Akoba, Principal Research here at 0100, and joining me today is Magne Setnes, the Chief Supply Chain Officer at HEINEKEN. He is a seasoned veteran in the industry with a career spanning over 2 decades. Today we'll be talking about what tech, talent, and growth in supply chains will look like in 2024. It is an extremely exciting time to be in supply chain with incredible opportunities and in many ways accelerated by progress in artificial intelligence for supply chain to drive competitive advantage and to create value for customers, teams, and the communities we operate in. So together, we're going to be diving into a few predictions 0100 made earlier this year, discussing some of the biggest themes and priorities top of mind for us as leaders and for our teams, like generative AI, the coming together of supply chain and IT, GHG emissions, and of course, talent. The data and research underpinning our predictions for 2024 are also in the form of a research report, which is available to our members on our Members Hub, and a preview of the report is available on 0100.com. So Magne, why don't we kick off with just hearing from you as you look ahead to your outlook for 2024. How would you describe your overall outlook? Cautious, optimistic, excited, somewhere in between?
Thank you, Lauren. That is a great question. Personally, I am a very optimistic person, right? So I tend to over-index on the positive side. But I would say, from the point of view of supply chains, probably like many of my peers in other companies, I think we ought to be a little bit cautious for 2024. I mean, we've had years of various disruptions behind us, things that were not always predicted and caught many with surprise. So I think we've learned to be a bit cautious from the supply chain function, and this is how I see also 2024. There's a lot of things going on in the world, so all reasons to emphasize on the resilience that we have built over the past few years. I must say congratulations on your predictions. I like them. They are very crisp. They are very bold, clear statements, and they do track to a large extent with what I see happening around me, with what I do expect also.
What, if any, of the predictions do you expect to see kind of accelerate or at a greater degree in the beverage industry in 2024?
Well, I think there's one obvious one that you are saying that supply chain professional will become well versed in genAI or AI, machine learning, these kind of things, and will list it as a skill set on LinkedIn. It's a good reminder for myself. I should do that. That is one. I also think that the job postings, they are a bit obvious, these two, but you will see that more and more in job postings. We are also seeing that within our company. What we really see happening is that, operators and people working, whether it's in the brewery or in planning, quality control and so on, are all starting to use AI tools and working. The real power comes from working with these tools. So, the human and the AI interacting and working together. So I think that is one that you will see. I also think sourcing. You're saying that sourcing will leapfrog planning in applications of AI. We all know that planning has been a kind of a bit of a front runner on applying AI machine learning models for demand forecasting and supply network planning and the likes. And in sourcing, maybe this has not happened so much yet. And I think that's where you will see that there will be an acceleration. I am convinced. I also think maybe not from the drinks industry, I'm not sure, I hope so, but I also think that we will see some cutting of greenhouse gas emissions using really breakthrough technologies. Where the question, of course, is what is a breakthrough technology, right? So if you are thinking about cold fusion, that is one thing. But if you are thinking about maybe applications of things like digital twins and advanced analytics to help cut emissions, I think we will see that. Yeah, for sure.
Magne, I want to go back to the first point you made on generative AI, and you said that's definitely a theme for you all at HEINEKEN. many companies talk about, how you develop a recruiting strategy to bring those skills in, but also how you upskill, leaders at all levels on new artificial intelligence and machine learning skills, where they might have, the commitment to the business, the domain expertise, the knowledge. How are you thinking about programs and methods or approaches to upskill your existing employee base, as well as kind of bring in and recruit for those skills?
For us in industry, I think what is important is not only, okay, you got to have these experts, these kind of single persons that know all about it, but it's really the deployment at scale. So how do you make this available in a productive manner to a large group of your employees? And these can be, there can be different needs in different groups of employees. So you have employees maybe working in offices or doing process work with data flows, but you also have people working shop floors in factories, and in our case in breweries, who will learn to work with generative AI. And my belief is that you should do that through a bit of a theoretical foundation, not too much. It's not like you're going to sit people down and teach them, how these AI algorithms really work. But then mostly it should be through use cases and practical implications. And one of the things that we're starting to use genAI with is a great example of this. It's actually the operators that are in our breweries. They have their digital tools, they have their electronic pads where they log activities and they follow work instructions and things like that. But they're also starting to use these tools to interact with the machines. And of course, behind the machines are enormous libraries of information, of manuals, and all these things. And so, for instance, in problem solving, in troubleshooting, we can now use genAI to query all this data in a much more productive way. You don't need to learn about SQL type of database language and stuff like that, but you could just use normal language as an operator and query all this information in order to get help with troubleshooting. And this is something that is really being embraced and that we see has a massive potential.
I love that practical application, Magne. We talk a lot about building technical literacy, right? And that not everybody needs to be a software engineer, right? And so it's almost building those skills. We talk a lot about kind of right brain and left brain skills, sort of analytical and soft skills, and the mix of those two. When you think about critical leadership behaviors, either in your factories or in your headquarters, what are some of those skills, capabilities, newer behaviors, or behaviors that need to be amplified as you think about the leaders of these teams of what we call kind of citizen technologists, those that are able to work with generative AI to get the most out of those tools?
There needs to be, of course, a certain level of functional expertise. But when you look at the leadership, I really think that the diversity of thought and being open to change and to challenges and having, making diverse teams work very well together is absolutely critical. So, I'll give you a simple example. If you bring together a bunch of, let's say, brewing experts, and you're going to start talking about, let's use AI. Hey, beer has been around for 4,000 years. They're not likely to quickly embrace it. But if you have a diverse team where people who know the technology, where people who know the challenges in the operations, when they are together, and then you make these teams thrive and work together, you will see that you can get fantastic solutions. And this is one of the things that we actually did in one of our breweries. I was very surprised, really. I have a bit of AI knowledge myself, and we were working with some young people outside of our industry, and I gave them a challenge to solve a specific brewing task. And they say, well, I think we can do this with AI. And I said, I don't really think that can work. But we gave them the challenge, and we brought in the brewers together, and we made an environment for them to kind of really get the opportunity to prove it and to test it. And amazing results came out. And then our brewers embraced the support tools that they would get. And it's all about, supporting them in their daily work. It's not about saying to people, hey, this machine is going to do your work. So So we're creating that right environment where diverse teams and diverse thought can come together, and you can look for kind of out-of-the-box solutions. I think is really something that is more and more needed of leaders in the future.
That's a tremendous example. I love the combination of diverse teams and kind of infusing kind of expertise on both the domain experience and the brewing methodology with your technical, folks with technical skills. I'm curious, one of our predictions was that 10 major global brands have a shakeup, fusing supply chain and IT. So we're seeing this, continued kind of fusion and coming together of the historical role of supply chain and the role of IT. Companies like Unilever and others like Walmart, Merck are putting their money where their mouth is and hiring machine learning ops roles into supply chains, actually extending kind of product manager type roles, machine learning ops roles in supply chain. Tell us about the relationship between supply chain and IT at Heineken and how you're thinking about or learnings that you've had as you've worked to infuse technical skills into your supply chain team.
Just before joining you here, I was with our digital and technology function speaking to their leadership teams just about these things, how we are really coming together more and more. And I would say the past has not always been, a smooth ride. If we go year back, there was quite some distance between, let's say, the IT or digital technology side of the business and the supply chain. We were the people in the operations focusing on moving the product along, and they were making monolithic big systems that we felt kind of tied us in ways of working. So what we have seen over the last years is really a coming together of these two functions, if you will, where it has become a much more pragmatic approach to, okay, what are the needs and what are the solutions? I think the solutions are just getting, the digital solutions are getting better and better and can really, really, take our need as a customer of IT into much more into account. But also, when you think about it, supply chain is a process. It is a process from raw material into factories and manufacturing sites, all the way distributed through customers and into consumers' hands. And data is tying this all together. And there is no supply chain anymore that runs on pen and paper, right? So it is all running on electrons. It is all information flowing. And this is what is happening. You really see that the boundaries, if you will, are blurring. The boundaries are blurring between supply chain and IT at a rapid speed. And we have, people. We can't even tell the difference anymore. Are they working, let's say, in the IT or in the digital and technology, as we call it, or are they working in supply chain? We are all merged together, and we have product owners and we have technologists and all these things. And it's really it's becoming a one. So I think you will really see that happening. We are completely depending on each other to meet the demands of our customers today.
Magne, I want to switch gears a little bit into our predictions about 5 instances of companies cutting GHG emissions by 50+% using breakthrough tech. And I know as we've talked, you've shared, this is a massive challenge and an exciting one, but also a long road to get to net zero. And I'm curious, and I know you're passionate about this. Can you provide an example of how Heineken is using technology to reduce GHG emissions?
Yes, sure. We have set ourselves the ambition that we would like to be in our say scope 1 and 2, which includes all our breweries. And just for your information, we run one of the most widespread brewery networks with more than 170 breweries spread all over the world. So really trying to get all these plants to net zero is a huge challenge, and we are well on our way. I'm proud to say that we have cut our emissions by more than 1/3 since we kind of draw a baseline of the emissions in 2018. So this mission is on its way, and we see that the reductions are accelerating year over year. What we find is that you need to have good insights in your emissions, you need to have the analytics. So you need to gather the data. But the world is not static, right? So this data changes over time. So you need to have good data collection in place, good analytics in place. And it also helps, we have found, to have a good model of how, for instance, your plants perform and how everything works together. This is often referred to as a digital twin. So having some sort of digital representation of various processes in your supply chain in order to optimize and to cut emission is very, very important. Another one is just the way of sharing information. So using, like I said, information for our operator, having the data available to them, representing it in the right way to them, and giving them advice through machine learning optimization algorithms is really, really helping to drive down and reduce consumption at the place where energy consumption, for instance, or water consumption, or any resource consumption happens. No, that is not going to be enough. On top of that, you need technologies that generates energy in a new way. Right, so one of the things that we are seeing is that when we apply, for instance, solar thermal heat collectors to create the heat that we need in our breweries. Now, this is it's a fantastic technology that is really becoming more and more mature over the past years. The obvious application of solar and wind to cut electricity, and also all kinds of new machineries in order to make sure that you are super energy efficient and that you recycle energy, like, for instance, heat pumps and things like that. Now, all these things, we as brewers, to use us as an example, is not something we can do, just on our own. So our approach is to partner with technology companies in order to drive down these emissions, but also in order to implement these new technologies. So many of them needs to be built. They need to be built on site. There's huge investments involved. And we partner with top companies in this field, the likes of Siemens, for instance, in order to implement this in our breweries all over the world. And we have an implementation path until 2030. We have a lot still to do, but we learn. And learning on the way is absolutely critical to get this done.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Magne. I'm curious, what advice would you have to others who might be just starting out on this journey?
Well, my first advice is you have to set a bold ambition, and it can look scary, but it is really, really needed. I mean, we see what's happening around us, to the environment, to the climate. This thing is absolutely crucial. And believe me, especially to us, we are a company that thrive on natural resources. We use natural ingredients for our products, and we need a healthy world in order to be able to harvest also in the future and provide you with that good beer. But set a bold ambition, and then you need to organize yourself. You need to organize yourself well. You need to have a good governance around it in your company, because it will take time. It's not like snapping a finger and it's done. It takes time. It's hard work. You probably need to set aside some budget for this, and you need to partner. Really, partnership with expert companies around you, with others, is absolutely crucial, because I don't think any company can do it on their own. They will need partnerships in order to accelerate. And last but not least, you need to get your data structured. You need to get your information. You need to have some sort of insight and model into where your emissions are happening, how they are happening, and how you can reduce them. Another thing we have learned is the importance of strong partnerships. Strong partnerships with the other industry players, or partnerships with those that can create the solutions for you. It's absolutely critical in order to get this at speed. And this is the solution, or the direction we took. We decided to partner with a group of very big engineering and technology companies, and together with them, make an individual roadmap for each of our locations. And this individual roadmap takes into account what are the local energy circumstances, what are the sources available, how is the physical layout of the plant, how are the processes, all these kind of things. And through this roadmap, we created an implementation program where we, together with our suppliers, really do plant by plant year by year, we work off this roadmap. You got to have a plan, otherwise you will be fumbling in the dark for a while.
Off the rails, yeah. I might just one more on that. Maybe you mentioned the excitement around sourcing and just that prediction itself and the untapped value. And hearing you talk about partnerships with suppliers, is there technology or applications for artificial intelligence that you're especially excited about within kind of deeper in your first mile piece of your value chain?
We are dependent on natural ingredients for our beers and beverages that we produce. And our supply chain is very, very long in the sense that, the grain is harvested on the field, and in the end it ends up in a brewery, and it after being malted, and then we make beer, and then we ship it off to consumer. And the harvest is an annual kind of cycle, right? So and there's always a lot of discussions around this. How well will the harvest be? When is the right time to harvest? All these kind of things, and that's quite important for our, say, procurement organization that look to source all this material. And I think that AI will be used more and more in helping them make decisions and in making sourcing strategies. Simple things like, when do you contract? When do you sign that contract? I mean, if you look through the price variations through the year, when do you sign the contract? How much do you hedge? How do you strategically manage this, moving forward? AI can be of great help. There's so much information to take into account. And if many humans are like me, they will be able to deal with a few things at the same time, but not many. And the sourcing environment is super complex. There's a lot of information, and AI is the fantastic opportunity to do that. Another thing that I find very exciting is when you get to regenerative agriculture. Mm-hmm. When you start saying, okay, how do we optimally use the resource that is the application of analytics and AI methodologies to do this kind of progress into agriculture. I think we've only seen the beginning of it, and this is where I expect a lot of acceleration in the time to come.
Exciting, thank you. We could probably talk the whole hour on that topic. I think I'll close with a couple of questions. One more prediction question. One of our predictions is around earnings calls, and that 100 earnings calls will cite supply chain as the catalyst for growth. So we've heard of, supply chain is often mentioned in earnings calls and oftentimes kind of on the cost side, right? Or risk to availability. But as a growth driver, as a competitive advantage, we see supply chains, showing up more and more as really an enterprise driver for growth. Do you believe this statement to be true, and or why? Why or why not?
I don't know how many earning calls there are throughout the year, but there's probably quite a lot. So I think 100 will be, you will reach that number for sure. So I do believe that to be true. And it's going to be more than 100. And there are several reasons for it. First of all, we come out of almost like 4 years of constant disruptions. It started with the pandemic, and it went on from there with all kinds of things happening. And I think that has put a toll on quite some companies, and they've had to restructure a bit in their supply chain. They've had to really focus on the resilience. As a result of that, I think now they will reap some benefits, and that is what you are going to hear in these earning calls. The benefits will be on service. The benefits will be on cost. The benefits will be on speed to market, and also maybe on innovations, both product innovations and service innovations. And this is going to benefit customers and is going to help growth. I am a true believer that, even though it's sometimes difficult, but I am a true believer in having a supply chain that is a competitive advantage. If your supply chain is not on a track to be a competitive advantage, already is a competitive advantage to your business, you have a bit of a problem, because supply chain can be quite a big cost to a company, right? So and hence we've always been the cost guys. We've been showing off how much we can save and improve, but now I think we see that moving really into an advantage to give the best service to customers at the right time, at the right cost. I'm quite excited for that role of supply chain in the years to come.
On a more personal note, Magne, do you have any specific goals or aspirations for yourself in 2024?
I have set myself the goal that we will make sure that supply chain really keeps its place as a competitive advantage to Heineken. If I look in the past few years, over and over, we have been nominated as one of the best supply chain in the food and beverage industry by our big retail partners, customers, and I really want to keep that. No one is standing still in this field, so you cannot rest. You cannot be sitting there and thinking that what you did last year will also get you to the same place this year. That's not going to happen. So that is my true ambition and goal that I have, that we continue to develop our supply chain for the competitive advantage of our company and for the joy of all our consumers and to advantage of all of our customers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Magne. It was great to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to continuing the conversation with you.
Thank you very much, Lauren.